Oh wait, do we have a cold open or something? I think Dylan should provide the cold open. That should be about how gay he
The
is.
Green Street are back today. We're gonna review a film. Yeah, we're gonna do some reviewing. That's it. That's what we do. Yeah, that's what we do.
Oh my god, is this Elijah Wood we have with us? Holy shit. Yeah, so actually usually we bring some news stories with us. It's like we usually start with like a news article, but I don't know, Luke, was that good?
Well, no, that was fine. We'll just stick with that.
That's the motto.
You get into a few fights and you realise you're not made of glass.
Yeah, because our regular viewers will be weirded out by the fact that there's this strange guy, called Dylan, involved in the review. So, we need to introduce him, and I think there's no better introduction than that.
That was pretty fantastic. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Dylan, and this week we are celebrating the 20-year anniversary of Green Street, or as it's known to Americans like Elijah Wood, I believe, Green Street Hooligans, because, otherwise they wouldn't have known they were hooligans. And Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Green Street?
To keep it up, you could have said, Dylan, why didn't you tell us a few things about Green Street?
Oh yes, Dylan, go.
Well, it's a film. It's got a runtime. I believe an 18 certificate, which means you have to be 18 older to
Luke
watch
never
it legally.
Yeah. So I will get into it right now. So Green Street Hooligans, also known as Green Street and Hooligans. But of course, to us, we'll just refer to it as Green Street because, of course, we are British.
Yes.
This was back in the day when, again, studios thought Americans were just so stupid. They needed everything spelled out to them.
It's the Sorcerer's Stone.
Of that. Yes.
I was thinking that.
Green Street is a 2005 crime drama film about football hooliganism in the United Kingdom. The film is directed by Lexi Alexander, and the screenplay is by him, Dougie Brimson, and Josh Shelov. It, of course, stars Elijah Wood. He really hit the ground running after Lord of the Rings, didn't he?
He was in Sin City.
Charlie Hunnam. Charlie Hunnam, who, would you believe, is not from East London. Claire Fafani, Mark Warren, and Leo Gregory. It was released on the 9th of September 2005 in the United Kingdom. So we are almost at its 20-year anniversary. And Michael and Dylan, of course. Can you guess what? Well, there isn't actually a budget.
Oh wow!
For this.
That's interesting because I know you do budget guesses, so I did put a guess for a budget on there.
I feel like this movie must have been kind of cheap because it's just a bunch of people hanging around. Like they just had to follow a bunch of regular, everyday Londoners just doing their thing. So if I was to guess a budget, it would be really small. But maybe I don't know. Like I guess they had to spend money on Elijah Wood. So I guess I'd say fucking. I almost see now I'm talking myself into being retarded because I almost want to go for like 10 million on the assumption that they paid loads of money for Elijah Wood because they were like, we got to get this guy in here, and he was like, I don't want to do this movie. But that seems kind of ridiculous considering the rest of the film. But you know what? I'm sticking with it. I'm gonna say this movie's even, and again, I can't be proven wrong, so this is fine. I'm gonna say this budget was 10 million.
That's crazy. Yeah. I put 3.
That's fun. Okay,
for the same reason as you, thinking Elijah Wood would cost money, and they had to get the guy that plays Pete all the way from Australia to play him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Dylan guessed 3 million. Michael guessed 10. Again, I don't know why you went on that long, rant, Michael, because I don't have the number in front of me.
Yeah, no. I'm just like, this is my Pavlovian response.
I always call you stupid, Michael, and for not guessing the right numbers, and I think you are, to be honest, because I think Dylan has just Dylan is probably more accurate, to be honest, given the box office. So it's interesting that he comes in, first guess is probably fairly accurate, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it underperformed at the box office. So have a guess at the box office, Michael and Dylan.
Okay, well you just said maybe it underperformed at the box office, which implies it will be low. I'm going to say this movie made 15 million.
Okay, Dylan.
I was thinking 4 million.
Oh wow, Dylan, that's a great guess. Well done. It's 4.3 million.
I'm gonna kill myself.
Oh, nice.
So that just confirms what I've thought all along, Michael. You're really stupid because if Dylan can outwit you at this, and he's only been here for one episode. What does that say about you?
I don't know. I guess like it kind of says that I'm resilient in a way. Like at the end of the day, you would think after having been doing this for 7 years, I would have just got better. And the fact I haven't just shows my strength of conviction. It doesn't matter how big my frame of reference gets. I'm just out here being like, nope. I just based on vibes alone, I think that this movie made 200 million on a £1 million budget. That's just that's where I'm at.
Okay, so of course the next question is, did we like this movie? So I think it makes sense to, again, Michael, you go first, then Dylan. So Michael, did you like the movie?
No, I thought this movie was like stupid on so many levels. I mean, obviously there's aspects of it that feel like amateurish, but I also think it just like it's a very serious movie. Like it's a very serious movie in the way it presents itself. When of course it just feels to me quite silly, and I hope that's not too strong of a term to use. Like it's very dramatic in an incredibly goofy way, in my estimation. But then I do hate working class people.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so it's my turn. Okay, so I actually really like the film. It's it's a good film. I kind of identify a bit with Elijah Wood's character.
Charlie
I can't remember what he's called now.
I can't remember his name either.
I can't remember what he's called.
Johnny?
I've seen this film like so many times. No, he's definitely not called that. But yeah, no, I identify with Elijah. I feel like, sometimes I feel a bit of an outsider, and I go in, I go to the pub, you meet all these people, and you go to the games, and you have their backs even though you just met them. But no, it's a fun film. There's some funny lines in it. A friend of mine, it's his favourite film. He often quotes it. It was the first time I watched it. A lot of the lines were things that he'd said to me before. But yeah, no, it's a good film. I like it a lot. And I don't know what you mean about serious, because I mean, yeah, there are some serious moments, like death is a serious thing, but there are also some comedic moments in there too.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of agree with Dylan, to be honest, more than Michael. I don't think it's that serious.
Maybe you guys should start a podcast, and I should be a janitor.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think it only gets serious at the end when Charlie Hunnam dies. R.I.P. to football hooligan Jesus there in that scene. But yes, but the rest of the movie, it's kind of fun. It's like a dramatic movie somewhat. It's described on Wikipedia as a crime film. Not really, but
there are crimes.
There are. I don't think it's too. It could have got up its own arse. We'll use that term, because there's this line from Charlie Hunnam at one point where he says, you might learn something, and basically the implication is, this kind of life, being a football hooligan, this is how you should live your life, or it's a better way to live somewhat. It's a more realistic way to live. And I don't think the movie really follows that throughout the rest of its runtime, which is good, because otherwise that would have been stupid and too serious. But yeah, no, I think it is kind of fun. I actually was thinking, it was well constructed. There are some issues again I have with it, but I don't think it's that bad a movie. I actually would say it's more good than bad, and maybe that's just because I'm biased because I like football. Dylan finds it relatable. I wouldn't say it's relatable, to be honest. But yeah, I do think it's not that bad a movie. I can understand why people still like it, and it's become kind of a cult classic. So yeah, firstly though, before we get into it, nitpicks. How many nitpicks do you have, Michael? I assume Dylan does not have any.
Yeah, no, I haven't got nitpicks actually.
Oh, has he? So I mean, one of them is Charlie Hunnam's accent, which is probably, I don't know, whatever. That's such an obvious one.
Okay, Michael, say your other nitpick.
So my other nitpick is that he should have just got Elijah Wood to babysit. So this is, of course, referring to when this guy is planning on railing his hot British wife, and then he's like, oh man, Elijah Wood's here, and I need to go out on a date.
You mean hot American wife?
No, wait. Oh, yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, doig. I was like, that was really retarded of me. Anyway, yeah, basically, he's like, Elijah Wood's here. I need to take my bird out on a date. Just logically, I'd be like, oh, this is good. He can look after the kid, instead of being like, I need to get rid of him by getting him to go hang out with my violent, angry brother.
This is your how much of a psychopath and how autistic you are coming to the fore, because this guy has just got to London, the first time he's ever been here. Do you think he really wants to just be a babysitter for 3 hours on his first day in London?
Well, I would feel like he's probably tired, needs just like a chill, easy job, like looking after a baby, something like low effort.
Yeah, even though in he's on American time, so it's like midday for him. He's not really that tired. But anyway, I get your point. Dylan, what's your nitpick?
Well, I mean, before I go there, I think I should jump on Michael's. I think, firstly, that's a very logical thing. I wouldn't have thought of that, so maybe he doesn't think of that either. Plus, as well, you don't trust him. It's just some American Yank who's just turned up. Do you really want to trust your son on
Jeffrey Epstein was a Yank.
kind of thing? Exactly. They're all the same. So, yeah. So I've got 4. So first is West Ham pay on the
4?
gate?
Fuck me. I can't remember the last time we had 4 nitpicks.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are quite petty, but I that's what I feel like a nitpick is, isn't it? It's a petty.
You are a petty person, so go on.
And it's a petty thing. Firstly, is West Ham pay on the gate? And even if it is or not, Matt's not getting into Old Trafford when they go up to Manchester. There's no way. Like, they're not going to have enough tickets for him to get in. Secondly, they're very well known, but they still have like these professional careers. Like, we've got a teacher, a pilot, all that. Like, how do they continue that when they've got such a, well-known profile? If any of that shows up on a DBS check, you've lost your job. Next up, Matt's journal, he writes that they're a gang, but Pete made it very clear they're not a gang, but he still writes they're a gang.
Idiot.
He's got to realise that, got to use the language. And then finally, it's the bit at the end. I don't know, should I give spoilers now? I suppose, you don't need spoilers. You've watched the film, hopefully, if you review. But it's the fact, it's this big trope, isn't it, in cinema where someone dies and then everyone just kind of stops fighting. But, they kind of wanted that to happen. So, like, why do they just stop fighting there and then? But then...
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes people realise when shit hits the fan. Like, they didn't realise. Sometimes people... It's like that whole Ukraine thing. Like, if someone dies, and I think Russia will realise that they've taken it too far.
That's it.
Yeah. No, I think that's more than a nitpick, because, it is just a shit trope. But yeah, that it's just quite annoying. We'll get to that, of course, at the end. So my 2 nitpicks, because I do have 2, is I'm surprised you didn't mention this, Dylan, because I think you've said this to me before. So Matt's sister, when Matt's like, "Hey, what's all this commotion in London?" and she says, "Oh, Tottenham were in town last night," despite the fact, of course, Tottenham are in London. Their fans live in London, so it would not make sense for her to say Tottenham were in town. There is no Premier League team in the centre of London anyway, so again, it doesn't make sense. And I don't know how she would know Tottenham were in town.
I mean, it's probably just for, what's it called, exposition. But yeah, no, I get that.
Luke,
yes.
I mean, sorry, Dylan, exposition is no excuse for inaccuracy. That's a rule. That's one of the mottos on the show.
I don't think they put that in for no reason. I'm saying it doesn't make sense. So that is you've got the gist of what a nitpick is. Well done. So also,
Dylan, this is much like Dylan. Dylan is like Elijah Wood, and we are like the football hooligans, except we're film talkers.
Yes. So my other nitpick is it revolves around the FA Cup draw, because it takes place during a weekday, and this was the case back in 2004, but I cannot remember it ever being, the FA Cup the draw ever taking place during a weekday, because people are in school, in work, it's like probably like 2 p.m. on a Monday. Like it just normally takes place, after the game, or
that makes a lot of sense. It's normally after the game, isn't it, that they'll do the draw for the next round.
Yeah, and I get why they did it, because everyone, it shows all their reactions, in their different places of work. I get that, it's fun, but again, does it make sense? That's why it's a nitpick. But also, crucially, I thought, because, I was like, Millwall versus West Ham in the FA Cup, they are going to, this is going to be where the finale is, it's going to centre around this game.
It wasn't. It was, they just randomly fought before that happened.
Yes, exactly, Dylan, exactly. The FA Cup draw between Millwall and West Ham, even though it's a big deal in the movie, is completely inconsequential, honestly. It doesn't really affect anything in the movie.
That's a serious hold, actually, yeah.
Yeah,
well, it's kind of like, it shows how, like, basically the fighting stops them. It got to a point where the fighting overwhelmed the football. There's actually a lot of thematic significance to that.
No, it's just because when I remember the film, I always remember the fight happening like before the match took place, and it's at the ground, but it wasn't. It was just at it was like the Millennium Stadium or something. But it was just at this random location. But yeah.
You said it, the Millennium Stadium. That's in Cardiff. Of course.
No, the other one, the Millennium Dome, which is the O2 now.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, I thought, again, like you, this big fight would take place before the match or after the match, but I guess they couldn't really film that because Millwall versus West Ham, that game didn't actually happen, so maybe it'd be tough to film it. So they decided just not to bother with that. Just they can draw each other in the FA Cup, and we'll just leave that.
When you put it like that, it kind of makes you think about like a really cheaply made like YouTube video or something. Like when you actually think about the fact the movie like ends with just a bunch of random people in a disused wasteland on the riverbank just having a fight. You're like, this is like the kind of idea that a bunch of student filmmakers would come up with. We've got to end it cheap. Like we blew the budget. We shot the film sequentially and we blew the budget, so the big finale has to just be everyone fights in a field.
It does push the tension a little bit. The fact that they got the draw, though, it does like push the aggression between the two of them a bit.
Yeah,
after they find
it's
out
not making
the draw.
excuses for it, Dylan.
They set it up, and you expect that to be the finale because of course it's a big fucking deal, and then it just is kind of inconsequential. Yeah, I guess it maybe adds something to it a bit, but again, it was just disappointing how they didn't incorporate the actual game into the fucking movie, which I thought was definitely going to happen. But again, probably it was too expensive to do that. So yeah, let's move on to the plot now, Michael.
Yes. After being wrongfully expelled from Harvard University, American Matt Buckner flees to his sister's home in England. Once there, he is befriended by her charming and dangerous brother-in-law, Pete Dunham, and introduced to the underworld of British football hooliganism. Matt learns to stand his ground through a friendship that develops against the backdrop of this secret and often violent world. Green Street Hooligans is a story of loyalty, trust, and the sometimes brutal consequences of living close to the edge. Dun dun dun! Does that sound exciting?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, so I would say on the plot, and many people compared it to this as well. It's British Fight Club.
That's real sad.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, no, you have like the secret and violent world. That this charismatic individual introduces our main character to. So yeah, that's like British Fight Club, although of course Charlie Dunham does actually exist in this movie. And yeah, I guess he needs to be an American, and because I think British people are all aware of this kind of culture, even though a lot of people don't participate in it, of course. But yeah, I think to truly have someone foreign, I think that's what needs to happen for this movie to work. So yeah, I do think the concept is interesting. Although yeah, maybe the Fight Club comparisons are a bit too strong, perhaps. What do you think on the plot, Michael?
I never really thought about the fact that this is a lot like that IT Crowd episode where the nerds get really into football hooliganism. I was like, oh my god, this is just the same movie. Yeah, I would agree. Like, it kind of feels like, I mean, that's to me the big cliche, I guess. This idea of somebody who's button-up, white-collar, like Fight Club, fair enough, yes, gets thrown into this world where he's like pushed outside of his comfort zone. I mean, the big thing we're talking about Fight Club is when he has that whole like line about, when you realize you're not made of glass, suddenly you feel like you can do anything. I was like, that's very Fight Club-y, like liberation in mindless violence. So yeah, that sounds like a fair assessment of, let's call it, the theme of the movie, but like I say, a theme which you could criticize this film as saying it's a bit played out.
It's like it's a good film teaching people about the importance of friendship. I like the bit where it's a bit of a trope, isn't it? But they kind of leave him. He gets picked up by the Birmingham fans, and then they turn up again and like, we don't leave our mates behind, and they start like launching hell. It's a very tropey film. That's okay. It's a very tropey film, but some of these are good tropes, so it's nice to see them play out on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't say it's a trope necessarily, because like that's the point of the movie. Or the point is like Matt is lonely and he finds friendship in this group. But that's the thing. It's very funny, I think, how the movie ends, and we'll get to that where the movie's like, yeah, what Matt had a good character arc. He earned some friends. He got a bit tougher. He lived a little. But also at the same time, football hooliganism is bad. It tries to dance the line, even though it didn't really have that message throughout the rest of the movie. Football hooliganism is not portrayed in that bad a light, to be honest. Yeah, but I will say another. I don't think Dylan will appreciate this, but Michael perhaps will. I think another interpretation of this movie is that, comparing it to another movie, instead of comparing it to Fight Club, I kind of thought maybe it's like it is a bit like Dances with Wolves, and Elijah Wood is Kevin Costner. And like the football the football hooligans are like the noble savages.
Yes.
You know, who live properly. You know, who go for a pint at the weekend. You know, who've got their mates back. You know, they live. You know, and they live properly. You know, and they live life to the edge. You know, and that's how life should be. You know, just like in Dancing with Wolves when Kevin Costner's like, yeah, you know what, the Indians they've got it right. Us white men are wrong. I don't know if that's a. Yeah, go on.
It's literally Common People by Pulp. Yeah, you think that poor is cool. You will never understand. Like, basically, yeah, Elijah Wood is the woman in Common People. He's like, oh man, I'm like hanging out with the poor people. This is so cool.
Yeah, but I don't think he is LARPing, though, to be honest.
Okay,
I think he's more into it. Yeah. I don't think he's like viewing it as, oh, this is cool. I think, again, he's kind of lost and he finds himself, which is a bit different to the Common People song. But yeah, no, it just it's you can interpret it in a more cynical way if you want, or a more humorous way. But yeah, so let's get into why this movie is called Green Street.
The name of the firm in the film, not to be confused with the film in the firm, the Green Street Elite refers to the Green Street in the London borough of Newham, where West Ham's old home stadium, Upton Park, was located. West Ham is supported by one of Britain's notorious hooligan firms, the Intercity firm, brackets, ICF. Did you like how I did a northern accent for West Ham Stadium? It was pretty funny, I think.
Not really.
Yeah, why is it that they didn't use the name of the actual firm? Did they not want to be sued for libel?
No,
Yeah.
I think there actually is a reason. Like a friend of mine, he told me that there actually is a reason. I can't remember what the reason is, which obviously is very useful commentary to add to a podcast. But
Great.
There's something.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. Yeah. I'm interested why they picked West Ham, because I think, you know, it would have to be. Well, I guess it makes sense that the movie's set in London, so you know Americans know London. It makes sense it's a London team. Maybe they could have picked Man United as well. But yeah, like everyone knows Man United. West Ham, you know, like a mid-table English team, nobody knows. And yeah, they do have this reputation as well. So I think it makes sense that they were the club chosen. What do you think, Dylan?
no, I said like Man United actually are. They're there as antagonists, minor antagonists, but you know, still there. Obviously, the main ones being Millwall. But I mean, I don't know if you've watched any other football hooligan films, but Millwall are generally always the antagonists in any film to do with football. There's another film called Football Factory where they're also there in an antagonistic role.
Yes.
Yeah, Nazis are
but
also
yeah,
often antagonists for the same reason.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think, it makes sense for Elijah Wood to get sucked into the West Ham, the West Ham firm. But yeah, also the rivalry with Millwall. That's very good. But that's the thing, Millwall just have a rivalry with everyone, to be honest. So that's nothing special. But yeah, shall we get into the script now?
I think so. I mean, one thing I will add, I do think Millwall and West Ham have the biggest rivalry. I don't think Millwall have a bigger rivalry with any other team.
Not Chelsea?
Yeah.
No, especially when you think this is back in 2005.
Okay, fair enough. Good point, Dylan.
So, the first point of the script that needs to be mentioned, as far as the script is concerned, is that lead star Charlie Hunnam's attempted Cockney accent was derided by many critics. Lead star Charlie Hunnam's attempted Cockney accent was derided by many critics. Is that good?
No.
It was better than him.
Cast me.
Honestly, when I first heard him speak, Charlie Hunnam,
I mean, I find the anticipation humorous, but Dylan's the king of finding anticipation humorous.
I don't think what I'm going to say is that funny, to be honest.
I just like you make me remember when I experienced it.
It's relatable. That's why it's funny.
Yeah, when I first heard him speak, it's the first scene in the movie. Obviously, when he's beating up the Jewish Tottenham supporters. You know, good on him. No,
Yeah.
This is our hero guy. This is our protagonist.
Yeah, I thought he was Australian. Like I thought.
No, I was the same.
He sounded Australian. I thought, I thought he'd be Cockney. Why is he Australian? And then I had to check the Wikipedia page to make sure, like, no, he's actually meant to be Cockney, because they didn't bring it up. I was like, is he actually meant to be a Cockney? And yeah, he was criticised for his awful accent. I mean, it's so bad, man. Like I feel like a Cockney accent is relatively easy to do. So I mean, Lee's star, Charlie Adams' attempted Cockney accent was derided by many critics. Something like that, which again, it's not great, but it's just so much better than him. Like, he's a professional actor.
It sounds like a comedy one.
Yeah, how can you not do a Cockney accent, which is any way like competent? It's stunning, and honestly, you kind of get used to it because he's in the whole movie, but it's so bad and definitely makes the movie worse than it should have been.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same as you. I was thinking, but then I've got this thing about watching films and trying to make sense of it and thinking, oh, this is probably why the Australians. Maybe the Australians and Cockneys just sound similar, because it's making a point that true Cockneys sound like Australians, because obviously all of our criminals got sent to Australia in the first place, and obviously they would all have been the Cockneys that were getting into fights at the football.
It's like how British people used to sound like Americans.
Yeah.
And we're the ones who our accents changed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So let's talk about Matt Buckner. Yeah.
Matt Buckner, an American college student studying journalism, is expelled from Harvard University after cocaine is discovered in his room. I can't believe it. Though it belongs to his roommate, Jeremy, Matt is afraid to speak up because Jeremy comes from a powerful family and is offered $10,000 for taking the blame. Yeah, I mean, considering how powerful this family is, I would kind of say, like, he should hold out, like, $10,000 is an insult if we're talking about, like, in the context of the American education system, where presumably his tuition would be, like, $100,000 at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Would Van Holden have been expelled? Because apparently he's very wealthy, he's very rich, and like, okay, he'd just get put in a rehab program and get suspended if he came from a really powerful family. That's what would happen. I don't think he would get expelled. Honestly, I don't think that would have happened. Yeah,
you just had the other guy take the blame for the fun of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just easy. It's less aggro to let someone else take the full fee, and then you don't have to go through the indignation of going through rehab.
Yeah, I know. But I get why it happens, because of course he is Elijah Wood is too scared, he is too timid, and that of course is his character arc. He doesn't stand up for himself, and that is the whole point of the movie. But also I don't like the fact that he has these character traits, but he's a journalist, because journalists are often very self-righteous, especially if you're at Harvard. Like, you wouldn't. I can't imagine someone with that career path and wanting to do that, kind of standing for this. If you get what I mean. So yeah, I think that's I just can't imagine that personality, but if you want to be a journalist,
Yeah, he's too pathetic.
Yeah.
In fact, like he shouldn't get like, it's kind of a good thing that he got screwed over, because it saves the world from another cowardly journalist who's not going to hold the likes of Keir Starmer to account.
Good point.
We get political. That's fun. I do feel like the whole him being a journalist storyline doesn't really go anywhere either, because that was like a big thing at the start, wasn't it, mate?
It was, it was a big thing at the end, Dylan.
No, I mean them finding out, because they obviously do find out, but then they just kind of like there's just like a scene where he explains it over, and it's like, oh, okay, you can.
We're going to get onto that, Dylan. Speaking of getting onto things, Matt reluctantly accepts the money and uses it to visit his sister Shannon, her husband Steve, and their son Ben in London for some reason. I do like how you included their son Ben. He doesn't. Is the kid, genuine question? Is the kid actually named in the movie? I might just be okay. It is okay. I was just gonna say because the kid cries. Is the kid actually? Oh wait, yeah, he is, because the fucking Charlie Hunnam sings to him. I was gonna say, because I know there's a bit where he's crying off screen, but yeah, I wouldn't really say he came to visit the baby. He doesn't seem to have. He's not even interested in babysitting. Dickhead.
Yeah. So I'm confused as to why he decides to go to London, because obviously it kickstarts the whole plot. He gets the money. It's like, oh, I'm going to visit my sister, which he has never done before.
He spends such little time with his sister that he came to visit.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a reason, he was alone, he didn't know, maybe there were some scenes of him just, pottering around his house or whatever, just, and then he's like, oh yeah, you know what, I'll go and see my sister, fuck it. But he just immediately decides to go to London, and it's like, why would you do that? There needs to be more of a build-up, I think, but whatever, he's there. You don't really get into his backstory that much, and I think that, we'll get onto that later.
Makes him an everyman.
We're about to meet Pete, aren't we, Michael?
Yeah. So, Matt meets Steve's younger brother, Pete, who leads the local football hooligan firm, Green Street Elite, brackets, GSE. Steve asks Pete to take Matt to a football match. Pete is reluctant to take a yank to a football match, but decides to take Matt to the game, thinking he might learn something. Now, I think it's worth noting, and this is a bit of subtlety, you might notice that Matt and Match kind of sound similar.
Again, it's what I kind of said before in the plot. You don't learn what real life is like. In Harvard. In your sheltered academic
Yeah.
life. Yeah. No, when you're out on the street, that's when you're truly alive. That's when you learn stuff. Again, so it's obviously the Fight Club comparisons are kind of there. Yeah.
They get into a fight and he's like, right, mate, let's get some Fosters and let's get down to the West End game, mate.
Yeah, can't.
Let's go down to the Upton Park, mate. And then let's have a shrimp on the barbie after. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Again, he's this charismatic guy. He takes this wimp under his wing, just like Fight Club. And it doesn't go too like philosophical about this is what life is truly like. Like how if it was more similar to Dances with Wolves, that'd be funny, and perhaps it would do that. But no, this is the line like he might learn something again isn't really brought up throughout the rest of the movie, because he doesn't really learn anything. He just like learns like, oh, it's nice to have friends, which is kind of an obvious message.
Yeah, it's a bit gay, really.
Well, he does learn something though. Like, I mean, that's the big theme of it. But I mean, that's something we go for later, isn't it?
But I'm talking about actually like learning how to live, that kind of aspect. Does he? Does he learn like this life, this hooliganism life is the right way to live? Well, again, I don't think the movie really says that, to be honest, and I think it's a kind of a stupid point to make, and it's a bit of a rip off of Fight Club as well. So the movie doesn't delve into that. I just find,
and I think anyone who's about to try and defend it is frankly stupid too.
Well, I won't defend it then, but for risk of being called stupid. But no, I think it does glamorize hooliganism. But it's like the big thing, like the big voiceover at the end. At the end, is Pete Dunham taught me this, and then he taught me that. Like as he's leaving back
But it
to go back
is
to
just to
America.
stand up to himself, right? Stand up for himself.
Yeah, I know. Me and Dylan, I think, are kind of talking about different things. He does learn something about you got to stand up for yourself. That's his arc, of course. But does he learn like specifically about? This is like the life that is more like like proper, or like this is how you should actually live, not like in Harvard, and that kind of contrast. And I was thinking at the time, is that the direction the movie's going down? Again, the sheltered academic life isn't really living, but this is living. I don't like that's kind of similar to Fight Club in that aspect, but I don't think the movie really does that, which again I'm happy about, because I think it would have been stupid. So yeah, you just have like Dylan says. Yeah, again, derivative, like you said, Michael. So yeah, you just have it's cool that he's learned to stand up for himself, and I guess that is the message, which again is kind of correct as well, because you should be able to stand up for yourself. But let's move on.
Everyone should. Even if someone says that their opinions on movies are stupid, you should just stick by them, stand up for yourself. Matt learns Pete hates journalists and meets his friend and his firm in the Abbey, their local pub, and they befriend Matt, with the exception of Pete's stubborn right-hand man and assistant, Bother, who takes an immediate dislike to Matt. You could say, by the way, he's a bit bothered. And that works better because they don't pronounce their THs as properly as they do in this accent.
Yeah. Also, nitpick. It's not really nitpick. I don't know. Just no cocaine is taken at this pub, which is shocking. That's this movie, I think, is quite realistic in terms of just what football fans do in Britain. The lack of cocaine, though, that is a big oversight, I think.
Yeah, there was another football film where they actually do the powder as well. And there's like this one guy who just can't stop sniffling because he does so much of it.
Yeah, they do love
That's
it.
realistic.
It makes you think the game, like logically, I'm just saying, the game must be really, really boring, because like otherwise they wouldn't need to, I don't need drugs to enjoy this, just to enhance it, they would say.
Yeah, that's West Ham under Alan Kirbishley, It was like,
imagine, that's it, like a manager who's so disappointing he turns their whole fan base into drug addicts. Anyway, here it is, the shortest line you've ever sent me. A few pints in, they head to the match. That's the note you sent me to say. A few pints in, they head to the match. Am I
wrong?
Now, you guys, I believe I'm right in saying, have not only seen a football match before, you have listened to one and been in the physical presence of one. And yes, I technically have, but not since, I don't think I've been to a football match since the old York City days. And obviously York City, a slightly different vibe, it's fair to say. Do you consider, do you have any issues with the presentation of the beautiful game itself in this movie?
Well, I was going to get into that.
What better time to get into that than when they actually go to the football match?
Exactly. So it's not really a sports movie because this
No.
is the only like football we see, or professional football. But some issues with this. They chant United the West Ham fans instead of Irons, and you do hear them say Irons at various points in the movie. But like I believe like West Ham fans, maybe it was different back in the day, but like they like to say Irons. That's what they chant.
Do they ever?
Irons.
Do they ever say Irons? We're positively charged.
No.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
So again, this is this could be nitpicks, but it's a football movie, so you got to get this stuff right. Like at one point, the Birmingham goalkeeper, he makes a save, and the Birmingham fans celebrate like a goal's been scored for them, and the West Ham fans are disappointed. And it's just like, no, that does not happen. It's the other way around. Like the West Ham fans would be like, oh, unlucky, let's go lads, yeah, we got a corner, yeah. And the Birmingham fans would be like, oh, we got, that's kind of stupid.
That's a good point.
Also,
yeah, because you don't like to see your
actually,
team just hanging on by a thread. That's not very good. I can say.
Yeah. Also, okay, so I'm confused about the timing because Steve, obviously, this happens, I think, on a Saturday. So Steve gets home from work at about like 1 p.m. I guess. He's just been in work on a Saturday morning, and he's hired a babysitter, and he's going to a show in Chicago. The Chicago musical, which implies it's in the evening.
No, it's a matinee.
What does matinee mean? You're gay.
I know what matinee means.
Oh, I don't know what matinee
matinee
means.
just
I'm
means-
straight.
A matinee means an afternoon show.
He's paying through the nose for the babysitter, so he's like, I can't afford these expensive evening tickets. Let's go for the afternoon showing.
Again, I don't think there would be an afternoon showing on a Saturday, to be honest. But yeah, because the West Ham game is on 3 p.m. on a Saturday, and yeah, I like how. I think they got the timing all wrong, but that's just me being autistic about football scheduling. And yeah, the game that they picked, 1-0 to West Ham. I don't know if West Ham beat Birmingham 1-0, but I imagine they needed to find a game where it's like, oh yeah, West Ham score a goal, so we can show that in the movie. So they won. So it's a good moment. Elijah Wood's happy. He's like, yeah, we scored, we won. So I'm guessing that's why they picked that game.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reasonable expectation they would have actually reflected the genuine results of that fixture in the football season corresponding to when this film got released. I think that would be yeah.
I know. Yeah. I just like to see it, but yeah, we can move on.
Yes.
I just wanted to get those points out of the way.
Afterwards, Pete, Bovril, and the other firm members go off to fight some black Birmingham City fans, but Matt heads home. I don't call it the Black Country for nothing, except I believe the Black Country is just outside of Birmingham, but whatever. However, Matt is then attacked by 3 big black Birmingham fans, although is rescued by the GSE members. So this is the kind of thing Dylan mentioned. It's a cynical person could say it's kind of a cheap shortcut to building a sense of camaraderie. Like, how are you going to make it so these people all feel befriended to each other? Oh, you put one of them, and this is I've almost felt like it's so common that you can't really blame them. But yeah, you put one of them in a situation where they're in a bit of danger, someone else comes to their rescue, boom, boom, boom. That's how Rey and Finn became friends in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, but I do think it is genuinely a part of hooliganism. So I think it's like, yes, you could say
also
it's a trope
anti-white
or whatever.
racism.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, I do think it's a good way for Matt to get inducted into the firm. Like, these fans attack him because they see him with the GSE, so they're like, oh, he's one of them. And yeah, I think naturally, of course, the GSE. Well, certainly, fucking Pete would care about them attacking that. He'd want to defend him. Because naturally, like, he's his family somewhat, and yeah, like if the Birmingham fans got one over on, if they beat up Matt, sent him to hospital, that would look bad for them. So yeah, no, I think it may be a bit of a trope or whatever, but I still think it makes sense plot wise.
You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Yeah, I didn't think there were black football hooligans because I thought like it was kind of a right wing thing.
I thought they were too busy selling drugs. I didn't realize, like, I didn't realize that they did football.
Yeah. I don't really know why. Well, if it's realistic that there's that many black football hooligans, to be honest,
I get you with the racism
maybe they were
thing.
just maybe they were in there because it allows you to show the racism because they call them Zulus and shit. But then the Birmingham City fans are like, we're the Zulus, and honestly, it's like kind of cool to see the white Birmingham City fans and black Birmingham City fans together in the same firm. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
It's a multiracial TV gang. Let's beat him up and knock us his colour of that, because that doesn't matter to us.
Yeah, it's like that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, also like maybe these are like maybe all of the black Tommy Robinson fans got together. Because you got to bear in mind, every single racist gang has to have a token black guy. Because that's how far DEI has got. Even the Nazis have to have a token black guy. It's the rules. Though outnumbered, the GSE managed to fight off the big black Birmingham firm until reinforcements chased them off. Matt does well in his first fight, is inducted into the GSE, and moves in with Pete. Should we talk about the homosexual undertones of this movie? Obviously, it's got Elijah Wood in it, famous for being in another movie that's very much about two people actually being gay. It's all about
Lord of the Rings.
Kind of. Yeah, this tiny little Twinkie guy being taken in by this big strong guy who's kind of a bad actor, so that's sort of got some gay porn vibes in it. And then he's like, oh, you'll learn something, like obviously about like learning to take a cock up his ass. So did anyone else kind of pick up on that?
Yeah, I did. I picked up on that because what I was surprised by is that Charlie Hunnam, or Pete, he does not have a girlfriend. And I was expecting him to have a girlfriend, but then he casually invites this little twink back to his place.
It's so gay.
And he hangs around with him a lot. And of course, this guy, fucking Matt, doesn't have a girlfriend either. It's I think there's one scene where he's like chatting up to a couple of girls, but they could just be talking about fashion or whatever.
That's the point. Yeah. He could be, they could be his gal pals, and he's the gay BFF. That is a serious possibility.
Yeah.
I like the contrast. It's like he's at football, like fighting people, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that shape looks great on you."
Yeah. Honey, you look so delicious.
No, it'd be funny, but you could say, this is a gay movie. Like, we're going to review Brokeback Mountain later,
Yeah, and absolutely, because this is also like there's the whole thing about like football and like there aren't any gay footballers, 0 of them. Like football's a very masculine culture. So honestly, like if they really wanted to take this movie up to 11, they could have actually had like a also their gay thing going on. It would have been It probably would have made this movie less favored by some of the people who currently like it, but.
And Bother says, "Oh, you're gay, aren't you?" And Charlie Hunnam does not deny it. He does not say you're wrong. He just says, "Right, you're crossing the line there, mate." Doesn't say he's incorrect. Yeah, but I just
crossing
do want to
the line
Matt's,
to accuracy.
I do want to talk about Matt's character arc because he's where he is right now because his sister says, "Hey, all this fighting is not the answer," and she clearly thinks that Matt is kind of depressed and lonely. Maybe because his mum died, and that's what made him depressed and lonely. But again, we should therefore see that he has no friends back in America, that he's lonely. Because I'd be like, if I'd just got kicked out of Harvard or whatever, or university, I'll just go back to my my hometown and just hang out with my friends. But maybe he hasn't got any. So again, I'd like a bit more background on Matt to make this kind of thing. To make this kind of thing hit harder than it does, because it just feels like they're scratching the surface, and they need to go deeper, like Charlie Hunnam does.
I was gonna say, No, I absolutely agree. Like, I didn't really like. I mean, obviously, like we've compared this to Fight Club. It's worth noting, Fight Club is a much deeper, more psychologically in-depth movie, to say the least, compared to this.
Yes. This has the style of Fight Club somewhat, does not have the substance, and I think that's of course why it's not that great. But yeah, so continuing with the game, right. This scene is quite weird. What happens in this scene? So go on, Michael.
Pete lets Matt be a goalkeeper in his PE lesson, while Bother gets in trouble with the Millwall firm. So yeah, this is he's a primary school. He's not. Well, he's a teacher, and being a teacher is a pretty gay profession, I would say. Yeah.
But again, why would you invite this American to be involved in your PE lesson? And then he's like, "Oh, why don't you teach a history lesson?" After it's like, why do you want to hang around with him constantly?
Because they're mates.
No, they're so gay. That is actually like, I mean, Luke and I, the extent of our friendship is we talk about movies every 2 weeks and nothing else.
Yeah, but I just wouldn't think if I have a job, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, why don't this American friend who's been hanging out? Why don't you come along with my job? I mean, but. Again, he's teaching me about football. Go on.
Pete recognizes Matt's loneliness too. Like Pete becomes his friend. I mean, it's a funny scene as well. To go back to Michael's point about being a very serious film. Also, I just like the bit at the end where it's like, you go to the pub, like, yeah, I'll see the pub, yeah.
Yeah,
because that's it. Because they wanted to establish, having spent the whole day together, when would be the next time they were going to see each other. This is very important.
No, I just do think it's kind of. I understand, of course, why it's in the movie. It's kind of a fun scene. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's getting more into football. But it's just very weird. Like, oh yeah, do you want to just hang out with me as I do my job? Like, it's I can't imagine him asking, and then do you want to teach a history lesson after? It's like, why are you so obsessed with this American? Like,
also, I'm pretty sure
all the time.
Like that's I would imagine that's not something you can do. I imagine you can't just invite a random person into the school who cares? Maybe that should have been a nitpick, but yeah, it is obviously pretty much nonsense.
I think safeguarding rules were a bit more lax 20 years ago, though, when it comes to skills.
Ooh.
Okay, so you just invite this random American in and get him to teach a history lesson after.
No,
was this post Section 28?
Yeah. I also okay. Well, let's talk about the scene with Bother as well. I initially thought when I saw it, it's like, oh, Bother is going over to the Millwall side to get like the Millwall firm to sort out Matt basically. And he doesn't do it, but he does do that later. So I was like, but I kind of like how he's trying to build himself up to it. He wants to ask that question. That's why he goes over there, but he hasn't got the balls to do it at the stage. So I do like that. I do kind of like how patient the movie is with that and understanding Bother's character. So I give that a thumbs up. I enjoyed that. But yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, you don't want to blow your load too early. Obviously, and kind of have an opportunity to build up the, I think, sexual tension between him and the Millwall leader.
It's a good scene at establishing just how kind of scary this guy is, though, as well.
Yeah, that's
good. Honestly, like, this is the movie I watched that taught me that sometimes, you actually have to just keep your wife in line. For the sake of both your safety. And I showed my wife this and I said, this is why sometimes I might have to say to you, shut the fuck up. It's for your own good, I said. How I'm always telling you that it's for your own good? This movie is why. And she was like, oh, thank you, I understand now. So it's very valuable. The GSE firm head to an away game against Man United, but 40 Man United firm members are waiting for them at the station. At Matt's initiative, the firm poses as a moving equipment van for a film production. Once past them, the GSE charge out to attack the United firm members. They win the fight and leave, taunting the United firm. That's some real Sun Tzu, kind of catch the enemy off guard. Nice job. Well done. Good strategy. And it shows how Matt's smart, right? This is kind of, I think this is, again, I don't want to keep using the word trope, but it's kind of a thing where like you have the person who's got like the street smarts and you kind of, it's like give and take, or like because obviously the person with the street smarts says, oh look, here's the stuff you can't learn at your fancy school, but then the fancy school person does something to show how actually sometimes being smart is useful, and like having a brain and stuff, and not just being some stupid yob.
Yeah, no, it's a great combination. It's the most deadly combination known to man. The street smarts guy, when he teams up with the actual, academically smart guy, they can cause real mayhem. I love the reveal of Nigel as well, the guy who wants to fight Pete. That's genuinely a funny moment. I was like, oh, that caught me off guard. I love that moment. But yeah, again, it's the whole trope of the Fight Club, thing where you don't feel alive unless you're pushing yourself as far as you can go. Which, the movie doesn't really repeat that so often. I think Elijah Wood says something like that in his narration here. I did think at this stage it's kind of like, Point Break.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Like the camaraderie, but then the... be more specific, but I think I know what you're saying.
So yeah, obviously Keanu Reeves. What's he called? The fucking the main character in Point Break.
There's no way I know that. I can't even think who the actor is.
He's the guy in Dirty Dancing.
Oh, fucking hell, Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze, that's it. Yeah. So, obviously Patrick Swayze is like Charlie Dunham, and Keanu Reeves is Elijah Wood. And the only difference is, again, this movie can be compared to quite a few movies because, again, of how maybe cliche it is, somewhat. But yeah, I think that's why it's popular as well. I think the only difference, of course, is Elijah Wood is not actually undercover, and trying to set him up. But of course, that's kind of ironic because they think he is undercover later. It's the same thing of like, this guy Keanu Reeves in Point Break basically gets swept in by this charismatic guy, and he's breaking the law. It's kind of the same thing here. Have you seen Point Break, Dylan?
No, I've not. But I get the gist. I get the gist.
Yeah. Kind of.
No, I quite like. I quite like this scene. I like how he goes out. They manage to find a way out of the fight, like manage to avoid them, but then they still go
do
back
the
and
fight
fight them anyway. But obviously, it's about reputation, and they get an advantage by getting them from behind. You don't get a few extra pieces in. But no, I just quite like that.
Yeah, they just
it's very brave of them.
Taking some men from behind is the way you kind of advance yourself in this scene.
Charlie Dunham is good at that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. After the GSE sees Matt meeting his father, a journalist, for lunch, they assume Matt is an undercover journo as well. Bother informs Pete of this. Infuriated, Pete angrily confronts Matt in the public toilets over his identity as a journo. Sometimes I just read scenes like, this sounds so much like a gay porno. You want to prove to me you're loyal here in the men's toilets? You're gonna have to show me. It's
Honestly,
like, please,
now,
I'll do anything. I'll do anything, Pete.
Now, yeah, you're making me think about this. This could be a great gay porn parody.
Yeah.
I think it could. Yeah. Maybe we should get on
White
that.
Street.
That's it. Yeah.
Or wouldn't it be like Brown Street? Wouldn't that be better?
Oh god, down, going down the Brown Street, Brown Street pooligans.
Yeah.
Oh wait, Cream Street.
Very good.
Is that kind of rhymes?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
instead of being a yank,
set.
you'd be like, "Oh, did you just wank that yank?" I was like, "Oh wait, no, you can literally just say like you can actually just make yank like that already works as a like." Now I know why they call you guys yanks.
You yanker.
Oh god. Anyway.
Yeah, I like how us three together and it turns into a Poper's Gay episode.
Just a bit.
Yeah,
it's gay.
I do think it's funny how these guys hate journalists though, because like journalists like love racists nowadays. And they love like trying to be supporting the authentic white working class, which these people would be.
Yeah.
And I do. So yeah, I just find that conflict funny. Very
It's come a long way.
2000s. Yeah, exactly. And I do think it's a bit shit. Elijah Wood keeping a journal. This guy hates journalists. Well, the whole firm hate journalists. So the one thing you don't want to do is record everything that you do.
Yeah, this is the one thing we didn't want to happen. Yeah.
Exactly, and of course, I love one of the lines how to hack into his computer. They say to some guy, "Oh, you know about computers." So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this wasn't the 90s, so we didn't get to see some really rapid typing as the computer turned green and started looking like the Matrix, which is an amateur hour as far as I'm concerned. Steve goes to the Abbey to warn Matt about being a journalist, and Matt discovers that Steve is the founder of the GSE, the Major, who retired from hooliganism after witnessing the death of Tommy's 12-year-old son in a fight. Yeah, so there's one thing that I really want to say, and it's what really matters here. It seems very weird to me that Matt's sister is dating this guy who used to be a violent hooligan. Apart from, like, I think they should have really set her up as some kind of rebellious middle-class whore who, just tries to, like, maybe she's got some kind of, like, she needs to have some hardcore daddy's issues, I think. That's the only solution to make this work. Yeah, Dylan agrees with me.
They do make it work though, because they say
she does
that
have daddy's
he
issues.
had to give that all up. He had to give that all up, and she actually, even though he's in the hospital, she like leaves him, like because of the fact that he didn't give it all up, even though it wasn't his fault. She's just like, no, fuck it. You said.
The thing is, he's not hot, and she is.
Well, he's got that Cockney charm,
That's
and it does seem he is quite rich as well. I don't know what job he does, considering I can't imagine he has a great education.
Brought up.
Yeah, like that's the weird thing. Like, it's kind of like, it feels to me like it's really weird, it really reminds you that they walk among us when you see like this guy who's like pretty well adjusted and he's like literally just friends with these hooligans and even was one himself. It's just terrifying to consider. Is my thoughts.
Yeah, no, because it's the meme. Well, the thing is, he has reformed himself, the Major. But I have you not seen that meme, Michael? It's like every third heterosexual couple, and it's this girl who says it's this cartoon, and it's a girl saying, "Hey, have you read this new article from Slate?" And then you have a guy with a T-shirt that says, the most racist man alive. And it's like, you got, an incredibly racist man can just be in a relationship with this girl who's like kind of liberal, kind of normal. And of course, this is in an American context. So I kind of view their relationship like that, even though, of course, he seems to have completely changed quite a bit.
That reminds me of like, it's like vaguely similar, except it's more about the aesthetic. But I remember seeing a thing that's like, every single suburban couple is a man who looks like a 50-year-old retired cop and a woman who looks like a 30-year-old yoga instructor.
Yeah, just back to the... Go on, Dylan.
No, I was just going to say, this is also the reason why he always goes to matinee performances while the West Ham game's going on, so he's not tempted to go back to that lifestyle. He's like...
Yeah. Meanwhile, Pete goes to see musical performances because he is tempted by his lifestyle. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I do think it is a kind of a big coincidence that what's he called, the Major, Steve, that's it. He discovers that Elijah Wood is a journo just as the other GSE members discover it. Like, they discover it within the same hour for completely different reasons. I do think that's a mark against the movie for how big a coincidence it is.
Wait, hold on. It is a bit related to the fact that Dad showed up, though, so it's not completely different reasons.
I know, but you'd think his sister would have mentioned it, about what does your brother do,
She does mention it for the first time, but he seems very disinterested in Matt from the second he first sees him. Like, like when he comes in, you're right, and then he's just like, "Oh, your brother's here. Well, I'm not cancelling my plans. We're still going to go to the theatre,
Yeah, your brother can suck my dick.
I think his sister, like, in the past, like, 4 years they've been in a relationship. She may have said just once, "Oh yeah, like, he's at Harvard doing a journalism degree." Or whatever.
What did my sister study at university? See, let's do a test. How often people talk about this? Well, I say Michael, as a representative of a normal person.
Me and you are not in a relationship. I think that's the difference. We don't spend every day together.
That's a good point.
I do.
And actually, to be fair, my wife does know what my sister studied and also where she went to university. So there we go. That is some evidence.
As blokes aren't as good at remembering stuff. Like, for instance, I don't know if I can remember what you two did.
So I can tell you that my wife's brother studied clinical psychology at university, and great. I can tell you what both their jobs are. So there we go.
All right, yeah, no, I just like the fact that even though it's a massive deal that he studied journalism, like Steve, that would change Steve's opinion of Elijah Wood completely. Like he was told and he just forgot about it.
Yeah. That would be like a red flag, wouldn't it? I suppose because they hate journalists so much, and he was the leader of the firm.
Exactly.
No, I'm kind of with the fact that it's possible that sometimes like men don't listen to their wives at all. So maybe he was told and he didn't even forget it. He was just like busy like thinking about something more important.
Yeah.
What were the matinee showings of this?
He was like, I like to imagine when they go to the show, he's really into it, and his wife's like not particular. So his wife's like kind of talking, it's like, shut the fuck up! I'm trying to watch Chicago. Every man is gay in this universe. Yeah, try to watch Chicago, you fucking bitch. This is what are you gonna do next? Try and have sex with me like you do every night, you fucking whore. He's like so mad, he hates his wife. Anyway, so meanwhile, Bother informs Tommy and the Millwall firm of Steve's presence, who crash the Abbey and petrol bomb the pub. Tommy wounds Steve by stabbing him in the neck with a broken bottle, telling him that if he dies tonight, they're even. Pete furiously berates Bother for his betrayal. Shannon decides to return to the US with Ben. Okay. So I just want to say one thing. As I was watching this movie, I asked ChatGPT, my source for all things, like, so this movie is like totally inaccurately trying to make football firms seem like full-on organized crime syndicates, right? In a really ridiculous way. And ChatGPT said
just because they.
So essentially, what ChatGPT said is that the scale and the extent of the violence, and also the rigidness of the organization, are inaccuracies. That's what it said to me. Like, it kind of like, how you were like one time when we spoke about the old West Side Story, you were like, these guys are like gangs, but they don't really do any sort of organized crime that makes much sense. They just dance. That's kind of how I felt about these guys. Like, if you're gonna call yourself a gang, I feel like you should commit just a bit more to actually. I mean, it's kind of like I guess the real issue, like you said, Luke, is that nobody does drugs in this movie. And that would probably add something to it. Because as it stands, it's just a bunch of guys who like football and then just randomly decide to have these incredibly violent gang warfare level crimes that they commit.
Go on, Dylan.
I think it establishes the fact that Millwall are just a level above the other firms. You know, like the Man United firm and the Birmingham City firm, they just fist fight. But the Millwall firm are like just far more violent, and it just kind of sets them up as the primary antagonist of the film.
Yeah, well, that is what they are trying to do. You're correct. Yeah, but the thing is, of course, the question is whether it's realistic that the Millwall firm would petrol bomb a club, and I don't think it is realistic.
Someone says Millwall, you kind of feel a shudder down the spine. You think, let's leave this person alone. Let's take a step back, lads.
I don't think it is realistic. But however, considering the bad blood there, I can get it. Like you have somewhat suspended my disbelief, and I do like the fact that the stakes are raised, which is good. You know, I think it's a well constructed plot. Like this part, I do like it. It makes sense why Tommy would, obviously this Millwall guy would hate Steve, and the petrol bombing is a bit too much. And I did think, well, if you hate him so much, why not get him in real life? Maybe you could find him, in real life instead of just waiting 10 years. But yeah, it does set up the final battle quite well. And again, you gotta, at this stage of the movie, you gotta raise the stakes a bit. And this is what happens. And I think it makes sense why Bother goes to the Millwall firm. Because what has been established is they hate journalists. Well, Matt's, again, it's a bit shit how they find out. Well, Matt's a journalist. He's doing the journalist degree, and then of course Pete wants to cover for Matt, so Bother is disillusioned. It all makes sense basically. That's the point I'm making. It all makes sense, even if the petrol bomb is too far. And I think for this movie, for all of this to kind of make sense logically, that's a big deal. So I'm going to give the movie a thumbs up for that.
The two firms meet near the Millennium Dome the next day for a final violent battle. See, the Millennium Dome wasn't a waste of taxpayers' money after all. Shannon turns up with Ben and is attacked by Tommy's right-hand man, only for Matt and Bother to save her. I will say this, the thing about these hooligans is they don't even have like the standard code of honor that you don't attack women and children. So that's a way in which they're not the same as the mafia, who would never attack women and children. So that's just I do think it's kind of crazy for these people all their machismo and stuff to be like, I'm gonna fucking beat up this woman who's never actually been in a fight in her life, and he's seriously into it. It's I don't know if that's I like to think that would be considered uncool.
No, mate, this is Millwall we're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
She's
not black.
they've just petrol bombed a pub. I feel like that's a step below kind of that level.
Yeah.
Does she have a kid?
And again,
with her?
This is
yeah, she
yes.
did.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah. Well, my big issue is why the fuck did she turn up with her baby? Again, it's just the stupidest thing you can imagine. Because all of the Millwall firm hate your husband. And so he's still alive. They'll want revenge. They'll probably kick you in, throw the baby in the Thames. You gotta be smart about this. But yeah,
I mean, my big thing is my big thing is as well. She's on her way to the airport. She doesn't want to miss her flight. She's got to go. She's got. That's the priority.
Yeah, that's it. Imagine if she misses the flight. That'd be so annoying. I would really put a downer on things. Good. I'm glad we addressed the real issue. I like if I'd like if when obviously this guy is about to kill the whatever her name is, and the guy comes to the rescue. It's she's got to be late for her flight. He's not even concerned for her safety. It's you gotta make her late for her flight. That's the only issue. If she didn't have a strict deadline with the flight, no one would care if she got killed. Pete notices Tommy is approaching the car and distracts Tommy by goading him, saying to him that Tommy is to blame for his son's death by having failed to protect him and is also gay. This enrages Tommy, who beats Pete, or if you like, Pete's beat, to death in front of both the GSE and the non-governmental organisation. Witnessing this, the two firms stop fighting as they gather around Pete's bloodied Jesus-like corpse in shock. Yeah, classic. That's a classic Pete moment right there. The thing is, I don't know if his sacrifice achieved quite as much as our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ did.
I mean, maybe that it's the end of football hooliganism. They're now it's gone too far. Even though the 12-year-old kid dying didn't mean they went too far. But yeah,
that's actually a really good point. They don't give a shit about the hooliganism. This guy with a fake accent died. And
it's Australian.
Yeah.
Oh god. I don't think people would stop fighting, to be honest, like you said, because again, they're
also 5 seconds ago that guy was full on trying to murder a baby.
well, one of the two messages of the movie is that football hooliganism is bad, and the two messages are kind of in conflict with one another, because I do think Dylan is somewhat right. Like, does this movie glamorize football hooliganism? I don't think it glamorizes it, but it shows there's camaraderie there. I think that maybe that's a bit different to glamorizing it. But I think, basically it does show that if you're an American pussy who needs toughening up, this is what you need to do. But that kind of presents hooliganism in a positive light. Again, not as much as like making it glamorous, but it is a positive portrayal of hooliganism somewhat. And so I think this movie, the message at the end that actually no, football hooliganism is quite bad. It kind of comes out of, I won't say it comes out of nowhere because it's always there in the background, but it does feel kind of sudden, like, oh yeah, this guy's dead. Maybe, hooliganism isn't that good. And I do think combined with that, the tone of the movie, it gets very depressing at the end compared to the rest of the movie, where it's not really that depressing, but it's almost as if the movie was like, actually, we need to make sure everyone knows that hooliganism is bad, so we need to end it on a depressing note, which is kind of in contrast to the rest of the movie. Basically, I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I like to think that I was right to say that I found this movie overly too serious, because even though it's mostly, but then to me, I always remember the note that I'm left on. I can only remember the last experience I had of something. So that's why in my head this movie is very sincere. Whereas perhaps if it had not ended in such a serious way, then I wouldn't have had that impact.
Well, yeah, so obviously, just to say, of course, what happens in the actual final scene is the other message of the movie, but again, it's kind of in conflict with what happens in the penultimate scene with Pete's death. So I think the writers definitely thought, we need to end this on a kind of a depressing somber tone, so we don't endorse hooliganism too much. But then again, there is a kind of a contradiction with what happens in the next scene with the fact that Matt kind of, his arc has been complete. He is now a better person, I guess, because of football hooliganism, which of course Michael will go into now.
Matt returns home and confronts Jeremy Van Holden, who is snorting cocaine. Jeremy admits to being the cocaine stash's owner, and as he's about to leave, Matt pulls out a tape recorder. Horrified that Matt has declared his confession as a ticket back to Harvard, and enraged, Jeremy lunges at him, but Matt fends Jeremy off with ease, showing that being involved in football hooliganism can have its perks. Victorious, Matt walks down the street and sings "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles," the anthem of the GSE and their associated club, West Hamage Albion.
Yeah, like I said, the other message, you've got to stand up for yourself, and maybe, football hooliganism does have its perks. It's not all so bad.
It's unfairly maligned, some might say.
The message is Pete's life taught him sometimes there's times to stand your ground, and sometimes there's times to step down. That is the point of the film. Fight the guy that kicks you out of Harvard, but don't fight fucking Millwall. Even
though he has been constantly fighting football firms throughout the whole movie, and that has contributed to his character growth.
Well, it's just kind of you can fight anyone. Just leave Millwall alone. Just kind of take a step back.
Okay, is that the message?
The message is anyone can catch these hands except Millwall.
Yeah, exactly. There's a time to walk away, and that's when you fight Millwall. That's when football hooliganism goes from camaraderie. Let's get him, lads. Yeah. Oh, when Millwall come, okay, now let's walk away. All right, if that's the message, then it's consistent. But I don't think really that's the message the writers intended. It does, it is a bit of a 180 considering this guy has just died, and it's like, I've learned to stand up for myself, even though the thing I have taken part in is literally killing people. So is it a good thing? Yeah, actually, maybe it's not a good thing if you look at the previous scene. But that contradiction is kind of interesting to me.
Possibly. Just I don't know if any of you have seen the sequel to Green Street.
No.
So essentially the aftermath is that they all go to prison and effectively lose their jobs. And it follows Dave, the pilot. Now, if you remember Dave, I don't know if anyone does remember Dave, but he's one of the guys that's there. He's the protagonist of the next film. It's just set in a prison, and all the film is just them fighting each other, and then they play a football match at the end. Sorry, guys, if you're listening, you don't want spoilers, so don't, stop for the sequel. But they play a football match, and then because they win, they get to leave prison early. It's such a good film.
That's actually really stupid. I do actually enjoy how retarded that is.
It was straight to DVD as well, or video, whatever.
I love that. That's fucking amazing. That's great. So let us conclude now. Michael will go first.
Okay. So the thing about this film is that, yeah, sure, it's kind of competent in the way it's like structured and stuff, and I think like you could compliment the fact that you get this character introduced who's like the major, and he's the major, and then you like find out, oh, it's this guy who you know like has been previously introduced. Oh, cool. But I would say like it mostly just gets the basics. And I think erstwhile, the movie, I think like part of it, I'm not gonna lie, is about the obviously fake accent. Like it's very difficult not to struggle to take anything in the film at all for what it's worth when you got a guy going, this is really serious, we've got proper things to do at this firm or whatever. I was gonna give it, I felt like it's gonna be lower than Use a Lot. I was gonna give it a high 3 because I thought it was really ridiculous in a way where I was just like kind of bored, although like obviously it is still funny, whatever. I've enjoyed talking about it much more than I enjoyed watching it, which, you know, that's a tale as old as time. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Okay, Dylan, do you want to go first?
Well, I mean, for me, it is a film that kind of, I feel like it does kind of glamorize that lifestyle, because I mean, I probably wouldn't want to get involved in a football firm, but you know, it did look like a bit of fun. You know, you go to the pub, you have a few drinks, you go to the game, and then you know, the fighting part's probably not for me, but the rest of it sounds like a good laugh.
Basically, I think the thing that defines it as being like meaningfully part of a football firm is the part you don't like. Cool.
No, but he feels more confident at the end of it as well. He's, you know, and he realizes after a few punches, you're not made of glass. You know, and that's a useful message as well. Yeah, I think York City had a firm actually. You know, we could have become a part of that, when we were there. But yeah, no, I like the film. I think it has some good messages. You know, it's got a good character arc for Matt, where he again, you know, and he gets friends, and he obviously loses them all at the end. So he becomes lonely at the end again. So that negates everything. But no, I liked it. 4 out of 5.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, you're giving it an 8 out of 10, Dylan?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, that's the biggest contrast we've ever had between two scores. A 3.5 and an 8. Wow.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm going to go in the middle, which kind of makes sense, because obviously I haven't been as down on it as Michael, but I haven't been as positive as Dylan has.
Yeah, I also feel like maybe you have more of like a frame of reference for your ratings where it would make it clear how ridiculous an 8 is. Whereas to be fair, I imagine the only other film Dylan's reviewed is Daddy's Home, which he probably gave a 7. So,
well, he says he likes like Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web and those kind of movies, which we would give like a 2.
Films.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Anyway, so I think that it's a competent movie, even though it is kind of derivative and maybe a bit of a rip off of, again, Fight Club, maybe, you know, Dances with Wolves if you want to be a bit humorous, and yeah, maybe Point Break as well. It takes inspiration from these kind of movies. And is the premise a bit ridiculous? Yeah, maybe, but you know, like these kind of movies, the premise is always a bit ridiculous. And I guess, you know, I enjoyed it because it wasn't a stupid movie. You know, I think things made sense. I just wish that the character of Matt had been a bit, you know, he'd been a bit more developed to make, you know, his arc, or just what happens in the movie to him a bit more believable. But yeah, I do think, again, I won't go as far as to say it glamorizes hooliganism, because I think it just paints it in a quite a positive light compared to what it actually is, which is really quite a bad thing. So maybe you could say because of that contrast it does glamorize it, but yeah, at the end the ending is kind of weak, because it just, the 180 between what happens in the last 2 scenes is quite noticeable, and how it ends on quite a depressing tone is, again, in contrast to the rest of the movie, which isn't that depressing. And yeah, I don't think it really works, it really jives, but I think it's clear that the writers thought they had to end the movie with it being depressing because they had to somewhat condemn hooliganism. So yeah, I don't think that works that well. But yeah, overall, I'm gonna give it a 5.5 out of 10. That's what I'm gonna give it. Like, it's I think it's like, you know, just good, you know, just good, maybe average. So yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
I like that 5 point. So that's an 11 out of 20 then, I suppose, you know. Yeah, that's fun that you got the... Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, Michael, what are we doing next time?
Well, we'll be welcoming Dylan back for Léon le Professionnel.
Yes, so
Dylan has seen that,
for Léon the
Have I?
I think we could watch it at university on the old Netflix. And
did we?
Probably doesn't
remember. Yeah, you were too busy drooling over Natalie Portman.
I don't know if I've seen this or not. This is...
Well, Dylan, you would agree that Natalie
mean,
Portman's attractive, wouldn't you?
Don't say she is, Dylan. Don't say she is. Don't say she is. Yeah. Well, you're not going to be joining us for that, Dylan. Unfortunately.
Oh,
this is you've had your chance and you blew it.
I feel like Matt at the end of Green Street. Like before the podcast, I was Matt before Green Street, and now I'm Matt after Green Street.
Okay, right. So join us next time for Leon the Professional. Thank you, Dylan, for being a great guest. I hope you
first of many.
Enjoyed yourself here. Yeah, the first of many.
Second
we'll
of many
back
actually. After I think was it about 6 or 7 years ago I made my first appearance.
Yeah, we'll have you back on for Pirates. No, we won't. But yeah, join us for Leon the Professional next time. I've been Luke, Michael has been Michael, and Dylan has been Dylan, which is always great. So yeah, goodbye.
Guten Tag.
Bye everybody.